Hello, and welcome everybody to another Tuesday live. I was going to say, but this is a little bit out of the ordinary today because it's not Tuesday. But I wanted to come on live and discuss low low dose naltrexone with you guys. So there has been a lot of questions coming up about LDN and the use of it, whether it is helpful, whether it has any side effects, whether there are natural alternatives that can be used, instead of the LDN. So I do want to talk a little bit about it. It's not really a teaching session per se. It's more like a educational session because I will share some alternatives that you can use, not to replace LDN, because replacing LDN is not possible the way it works in the body, but there are definitely natural alternatives that can simulate certain pathways that low dose naltrexone is promoting, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit. So let me just check my Facebook group. I'm just going to put it on here on my phone so I can see if anybody is live. So if you are new here, welcome everybody. I am super excited to have you. And for everybody else, welcome back. And please do comment on this live video if you have any questions, any comments, any input. I'm always interested to hear your opinion, to see what you're doing and how things are going for you. Okay. So what we're going to be doing is I will actually talk a little bit about how low-dose naltrexone actually helps treat autoimmunity, or what has been shown that it helps with. So regardless of whether you have been given it a try or thinking about it, or maybe you want to go the alternative route, it's always good to know and understand what we're talking about so that you can make a critical decision for yourself. Because I always find that with these things, we kind of like have to take our emotions or our personal opinion out of it, because we are all individuals. And as you can already see in the group posts, that when I asked the question if somebody has tried LDN before and whether it was helpful, there is various experiences around this, and that is all valuable and fair information because we're all different, and that's okay. But there are studies, so there's lots of studies, research studies around LDN, and so it is a valuable tool for some. Not everybody, but for some. And you won't find out if it's for you unless you try it. Okay, so the low-dose naltrexone was actually approved in the 80s at a dose of 50 milligrams, so which is quite high, to help heroin addicts. Okay, so the way it works actually is that it blocks the reception of opioid hormones, making it easier for drug-dependent individuals to stop using the drugs. And then later on, it was discovered that at a low dose, this drug actually has an immune modulating effect. So low dose, we're talking about 1 to 4 versus 50 milligrams. So quite a lower dose than they used for the drug addicts. So the way it works, there's different components to it. So number one, it helps to regulate the immune system by promoting T regulatory cell function, and so also known as TREGs. And the TREGs, they keep the immune system in balance, and they have the ability, so the T regulatory cells are part of your immune system, and they can turn inflammation on and off depending on what is needed. And so they're really important in preventing the immune system from getting stuck in overdrive, which oftentimes happens in autoimmunity. And so this has shown to help many women or people in general with an overactive immune system, especially also around allergies, asthma, and then also autoimmune conditions. So there are no specific studies around Hashimoto's and LDN in general, but there are studies specifically about more fibromyalgia, as well as rheumatoid arthritis areas. And in those studies, it has been shown to be very effective. And so then the LDN use was adapted for for all the other autoimmune conditions as well, because there's similar pathways that lead to inflammation in the body. So that is the one thing that happens. The other thing is that the LDN temporarily blocks the opioid receptors in the brain, as I said. And so what happens when the receptors are blocked, then the body thinks more opioids are needed. And so it produces more. Now, it has been shown that a lot of us with autoimmune issues or diseases, we're actually low in opioids that our bodies make. And so by the time the LDN then docks onto these receptors and blocks the receptors. And so by the time your body makes more opioids as a result of the blockage, LDN has left your system and the receptors are unblocked, which then leads to essentially a net increase of natural opioid production, which then can really help people with autoimmune disease to have a better immune response, right? The other thing too is that on the white blood cells, you also have receptors for specific cells. And those specific cells, they're called microglia. And so those cells are actually, what they're doing is they're promoting a response, an inflammatory response in your nervous system. So they can increase inflammation, pain sensitivity, fatigue, sleeplessness, mood disorders, and such. And so not only does LDN block the opioid receptors, but it also blocks the receptors for those specific cells that are involved in all of these symptoms that can cause a lot of discomfort. And so that is another reason as to why LDN has been shown to help with pain and inflammation, pain sensitivity, fatigue, mood disorders, and such. So this is just really broadly how it would work in the body. And but again, I will say that I always think that depending on where the inflammation is sitting with you specifically, LDN can be helpful, but it doesn't have to be, right? So I have actually seen both sides of the spectrum in my practice a lot. I've seen women that have been taking it and it was a game changer. And then I've been seeing women that have been taking it and they didn't feel anything, and others who actually felt worse on it. So it's really dependent on, I always think like it's really dependent on where the inflammation is sitting, right? Because not everybody has issues with, specifically the nervous system inflammation or the opioid imbalance and things like that. For a lot of women, majority of the women actually, a lot of the inflammation sits in the gut. And so I think the LDN is not very effective when it comes to issues that stem from your gut health. And that is why I always find that these tools can be the icing on the cake, but it can never replace the fundamental work that needs to be done in your gut health, in your detox health, in your liver health, in your adrenal health. All of these pieces that come together and create a storm of inflammation in your body. The fundamental base that needs to be addressed, LDN and in any sort of supplements and tools cannot replace that. They can be very helpful on top of these things, but they can never, ever replace it. I just wanted to emphasize that here as well. So there are a few things, and just I also wanted to just let you know that me personally, so I have never taken LDN because I was able to get my body in a place where I didn't need that tool. So I was able to bring my inflammation down massively by just working on those foundational pieces, as well as some supplements and lifestyle changes and things like that, and getting rid of gut dysbiosis and candida overgrowth and all the other things. So I've never personally been on it, so I don't have personal experience with it. However, so the way LDN helps the immune system, there's always the question, is there something similar or there's some natural alternatives to LDN that can achieve the same purpose of reducing central nervous system inflammation and promoting the T regulatory cell function? And there is definitely a lot of things that achieve both of these goals. So I wanted to give you some information today as to what components of nutrition can actually help with that or have similar effects on the body when it comes to the LDN. So, for that, we always have to look at what it is that LDN actually helps you with in the body. So we talked about the T regulatory cell function. So to improve T regulatory cell function, the number one vitamin that is the most powerful T regulatory cell promoter is vitamin D. Okay, so you really need to make sure that you know where your vitamin D levels are at. That is the first thing you need to know, because just by increasing the vitamin D to an optimal level, you can actually would decrease inflammation quite a bit in your body. The other thing too is glutathione. Glutathione is one of your body's master antioxidants, and so the glutathione is extremely helpful for those. The glutathione is actually a protein in the body that acts as an anti-inflammatory, and glutathione is something that we actually discuss in detail this month of July inside my membership. So there is a lot of things that you can do naturally to bring up your glutathione levels. So you don't have to just run to the health food store and get your supplement. There's a lot of things you can do with diet and nutrition in order to help glutathione levels to go up in your body, which I recommend for everybody with autoimmune because it has such a huge impact on your immune system. So it's definitely, so increasing your glutathione levels is definitely something that needs to be considered in addition to LDN, or just generally speaking. I believe glutathione is part of the antioxidants. And by the way, the importance of antioxidants is what we're discussing in the membership, because it's one of the key components to generally decreasing inflammation every day, all year round. Okay, so if you're interested in the membership, let me know. I started this membership just in July, and it's at a founding member price right now, and it's only $39, and really good value. Get a lot of information on these key nutrients necessary to really reduce inflammation, and then you get recipes and lots of backup information and resources as well. So let me know if you want to join. It's always available for you. You can join anytime. Okay, so vitamin D and glutathione we discussed. So another important thing for immune function, generally speaking, are adequate levels of selenium, zinc, and iodine. By the way, it's interesting because selenium is the other antioxidant that I'm discussing in detail and depth in the membership because it's so important. It's a mineral. So minerals are also really important key nutrients that we need to increase with autoimmune. right? So minerals, that's a different topic for another day, but minerals, keep that in mind, are super, super important. So maintaining adequate levels of selenium, zinc, and iodine is important for immune function. And so that can be extremely helpful. Selenium, you can really find in food very easily. One of the ones that are better known are the Brazil nuts, right? So 1 to 3 Brazil nuts a day can help to keep your selenium levels at a good level. Another one is probiotics. So probiotics promote T regulatory cell function. So probiotics, I I find is just generally so important for us with autoimmune because like I mentioned before, I see that a lot of imbalances and dysfunction stems from the gut environment. And so while I believe that probiotics are again never the one thing solution that will help clear out your gut and that will help stabilize your gut, but they can be an effective tool, especially if you know which probiotics to take. So, especially the soil based probiotics and organisms promote T regulatory cell function. So, soil based is something that I have been starting to use in my practice, and I have seen great results with it. The other one I was gonna mention is butyrate. Okay, so butyrate is a short chain fatty acid, and I know I've seen butyrate supplements come on the market now because there's so much research that is starting now around butyrate, which is amazing. But again, I will say don't fall into the trap of running to the health food store and buying all these supplements because your digestion absorption might not even be in the place where they can utilize all of these supplements. Okay, so that would be a complete waste of money if you still have digestive issues. However, butyrate is something that your body makes. So butyrate is produced by beneficial bacteria in your colon, right? So and so what we want to focus on is we want to focus on nourishing those good bacteria so that then they can create more butyrate, which improves T regulatory cell function, just like LDN does. Okay, so the way you can do that is by really increasing the amount of prebiotics in your diet that indirectly feed your good bacteria, who then churn out the butyrate, the short chain fatty acid for anti-inflammatory purposes. All right, let's just take a quick sip here. Hold on. Okay, so the next one I was going to mention is a vitamin A. Vitamin A, again, it's something actually one of the biggies that I cover in the membership for July. Vitamin A is important and very, very crucial for proper immune balance. Vitamin A is also an antioxidant, and it's fat soluble, but it also has it's very much involved in immune function, in the production of uh, macrophages, of immune cells in your body. And the best way you can get vitamin A into your body is actually with cod liver oil. So cod liver oil is something that is amazing. The omega acids are not as high. However, cod liver oil is very rich in vitamin A, which I find, especially for women who have a lot of joint pain and that type of inflammation, that can be extremely helpful. And the last thing I want to say is for pain reduction, because LDN, as I mentioned before, really affects pain reduction. There are similar properties in certain herbs and plants that can help to inhibit pain. It's a little bit of a different pathway in the body. They inhibit certain enzymes, but the effects are actually, I find, when it comes to pain, actually better with those ones. And these things are curcumin, so turmeric, and boswellia. So turmeric and boswellia, especially boswellia, I love boswellia. I think boswellia has been shown to be extremely helpful for women who are experiencing joint pain. Um, they they do inhibit some enzymes that can trigger inflammation, and so that can be also taken in order to reduce pain in the body, similar to LDN, in the way LDN works in the body. In my opinion, even a little bit better. So those are just a few things I wanted to mention that have naturally shown to have similar effects or pathways that LDN does. And in my practice, I use a combination of all of those. So to be quite honest with you, sometimes I have people do everything that I just mentioned, and sometimes I have them just do certain things at certain times. But I use all of these components regularly in my practice. And so I think that if you are on the path of wanting to reduce your Hashimoto's symptoms, maybe even if you have set that goal of bringing your autoimmune response into remission, those things are really good tools in order to start to include and incorporate into your day-to-day to help quench the inflammation. Okay, so I hope this was helpful for you guys. Again, if you want more information about the membership, please let me know, and I'll shoot it your way. Otherwise, please, if you have any questions about anything that I mentioned today, please leave it in the comments. I'm happy to hear from you guys. And I'll see you again very, very soon with another topic. And if there's anything that you want me to discuss with you, do let me know, and I'll make sure to speak on that as well. All right, everybody. Okay, have a great night, and I'll see you again very soon.